Okay, so now my primer's dried up, it's had time to cure. You can do 2 coats of primer if you want, but on something like a controller I wouldn't. At this point, if you don't feel that your primer is smooth enough, if you got a little bit of bumpiness to it or any problems with it, you can sand it. In particular, well, you should have sandable primer. Rust-Oleum primers are generally sandable. So at this point, like I said, you can sand it. I would use 600 grit now. I realize we use 400 to get the primer, to get the things ready for primer, rather. But now that you're going into your color, you can go 600 grit. And yeah, let's start throwing some color on here. I'm just gonna keep it fairly simple. I think I'll do I'm gonna paint this guy silver. Got the Rust-Oleum silver aluminum here. Who am I kidding? You guys don't care what my color choices are. Anyway. Yeah, get a little nice bright silver on this one. Got a bit of a chrome look to it. That'll work. Ooh, shiny. Alright. And go get a base coat of black on these, and then I'll maybe add something to them after. Should clarify, I'm using matte black. I'm planning on clear coating over this. I'm trying to get a fairly high quality finish, even though I'm using rattle cans. So I'm using a matte black because, well, it's easier for things to adhere to a non-glossy surface. Yes, they will adhere chemically, but why not make it a little easier on them by not putting a glossy surface underneath another layer of paint. So yeah, I'm going to use the matte black for this. You can use a semi-gloss or a gloss if you want, but with a top coat I don't see why you would. So you might want to go fairly light on this and do 2 coats, particularly if you're worried about any kind of pooling or runs or anything like that. It's going to be easier to go light and do 2 coats. I'm getting full coverage on my first coat here, and plus I'm planning on doing something over top of this. So not just a gloss coat, but like some other color. So I'm just going to leave it at 1. If you're planning on using metallics, the metallic blue or anything like that, like I've got this metallic black that I might throw in there at some point, you're going to want to probably put a base coat under that. Something like a matte black's a good choice. In that case, you only probably need 1 coat. If you're worried about getting paint into these little holes that the screws were in, you might want to take a Q-tip, spray it with the paint, and just kind of dab it in there, because if you go and try and shoot a bunch of paint into there, you're going to end up with a mess around the edge of it. So, oh, that was brilliant. So yeah, I would avoid that. Alright, so now, of course, that's going to need time to dry. Usually with the matte, you can tell fairly easily. It dries when all the glossiness, all the wetness is gone, it looks matte. You might want to wait a little longer than that, especially if you're doing something like I'm doing. I'm applying a bit of a texture, I think. So I'm going to give it probably half an hour, and then I'll come back to it. See you in a bit. Alright, so now my black's dry, and I said I wouldn't use an airbrush on this, so I've been trying to think of a way to get some kind of cool paint job without it, and my decisions came down to basically either a brushed aluminum panel looking finish or a silver texture, and I decided to go with the silver texture because you need a paintbrush to do the brush finish properly or something along those lines. And for the texture finish, all you need is, I don't know, some saran wrap or a Walmart bag or even a newspaper if you want, really. Finish will be slightly different, but it really doesn't matter. So yeah, I'm going to go with the simplest one, because that's kind of the purpose of this specific controller. That's black, that would be stupid. Alright, so let's do the silver texture finish. So this is marbleizing, that's what it's called, or negative marbleization, or really the ripple effect. It really doesn't matter what you call it. The idea is put your paint on relatively heavy, then you use your cling wrap or whatever it happens to be to pull some of it off so that you get an effect. And if you want to, you can then kind of dab it around and stuff. You can really manipulate it however you want. So here we go. I should just leave it chrome like that. That looks awesome. Alright, it's on, so now we'll pull some of it off before it dries too much. Stuff dries really quick, so let's hope it hasn't dried too much. Not quite what I was going for. So I'm going to go over it again with the black because it did dry way too fast. I'm going to pull off some of the black instead. Woo. I also didn't let my black dry long enough. The last time, not this time. Alright, there we go. Textured finish. Let's do the other half. Would have made sense for me to grab a new piece of saran wrap. Alright, that looks pretty cool. You'd probably use a similar technique to do a camouflage pattern if you wanted to. This stuff dries pretty damn quick. Alright, and just to make things even more interesting, because, hey, I'm painting this thing anyway, so why not, right? I'm going to throw a little bit of the metallic on there. This stuff is kind of semi-transparent, So I'm going to dust it on real light, and yeah, all this patterning should basically show through it. It'll just darken it up a little. Yeah, there we go. I had someone ask me once if that was a candy finish, by the way. It's not. This is not candy paint. Candy paint is not pigment based at all. It's a transparent dye, unless you buy auto wear candy, which is candy pigment, but whatever the case, yeah, this doesn't count. So don't call that a candy finish. Just because it's kind of transparent, it's going over opaque, doesn't mean it's candy. Alright, and the most fun part, once again, we're going to let this dry. And I think that's going to be ready for clear coat. So let's move along to the airbrushed one.